till the end of February. And good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm talking to Steve Martindale, if you just tuned in, and we are going to be talking about the film festival, which starts on Tuesday, and in particular, the opening film, which is called Fanny, The Right to Rock, and I've got a couple of songs on them that we can hopefully squeeze in as well. But first of all, what's your role with the film festival?
I'm the program coordinator and the publicist of the festival.
That sounds like a big job.
Well, we're a very small festival, so every job covers a lot of ground in our festival.
Yeah. Do you want to give people, in case they haven't picked up a brochure or haven't looked into it too much, give them some details about, dates, times, where to get tickets, and so on?
Yeah, we start on Tuesday. We run from March 1st to March 6th at Art Spring. We're usually based at the high school, of course, but because of COVID protocols, we had to find a new venue this year. And as Salt Springers will probably remember, we were on hiatus last year. We did show half a dozen films at Fulford Hall in December as a little trial balloon to see how that would work in the pandemic. And so we found a new venue at Art Spring, so we're excited about that. What it means is that we'll just show one film at a time, whereas traditionally, of course, we've shown multiple films simultaneous in different rooms. So we're going to have a bigger screen, we'll have stadium-style seating, it'll be more comfortable for people. And we're showing 2 films a day from Tuesday through Sunday of next week. The films are at 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock, so there are a dozen screenings. And passes are available through the Art Spring box office. They're $13 per film, and that includes the service fees. And people can find information online at our website, which is saltspringfilmfestival.com. There's also a full program guide and screening schedule on the Salt Spring Exchange. And as you mentioned, Fanny, The Right to Rock is our opening film. So Tuesday at 4 o'clock at Art Spring, we're screening Fanny. And this is a great film. It's a documentary by Bobby Joe Hart, who's a Canadian filmmaker. It's actually a Canadian film, although there's no Canadian content in the film. Fanny, as some people will remember, is an all-women band that formed in the late 60s in Sacramento, California. And they were the first all-girl band to be signed by a major record label. And like several of the films on our festival this year, it's kind of looking at a forgotten history because people have largely forgotten about Fanny. They were really groundbreaking at the time. They were Filipino-American, the sisters who founded the band. They were, as I say, they were the first all-girl band to be signed by a major record label. They had 5 albums in the early 70s. They did an album a year starting in 1970. They did have some top 40 success. And they've largely been forgotten. Most people don't seem to know who they are anymore. And so this documentary traces their origins and then follows them for up to the present day when they reunite 50 years later. It's a really unusual story because these women got back together 50 years later. They're all nearing 70 now. And they signed a new record deal and they have a new album out called Fanny Walk the Earth.
And when you were talking just a few minutes ago about the way things have changed, it's at Art Spring and so on, and a couple of films a day. I noticed too that they're almost all of them are like full-length features now, as opposed to the shorter ones they used to show.
It's true. We've got a dozen screening slots, so each day we're showing 2 films, and most of them are full-length feature films. So they're mostly between an hour and a half and 2 hours, with some exception. We've got a couple of somewhat shorter films that we would consider mid-length films, and we have one short film. There's a half-hour documentary that we have included with one of the mid-length films, but they're pretty much all feature-length films throughout the week. And we've got a whole range of subjects. Fanny, the opening film, is our only music documentary. And like a lot of the films on our festival, it's won a number of awards. It's won audience awards at other festivals. It's been named Best Music Documentary at the Edmonton Northwest Fest. And it's playing very well at festivals across the country and around the world. So we hope people turn out to see it. It's quite a revelation, to see. This film Fanny reminds me a lot of the film Hidden Figures. Remember Hidden Figures about African American women in NASA and how they were instrumental in putting a man on the moon. And it seemed like, as a society, we had just forgotten that story. Yeah. And then there was a book on the subject and the film. And now, of course, it seems, well, of course, there were African-American women who were human computers at NASA. Like now it seems like it's a known part of the history. But for decades, people forgot that. Mm-hmm. And the same is true here for Fanny, that they have been largely overlooked Even though they had a lot of support, they toured with Chicago and Steely Dan. They had a lot of very high-profile fans. David Bowie was a big proponent of Fanny. He spoke very highly of them, and then history sort of forgot about them. And remarkably, they get back together half a century later. And
Well, I must admit that I have a huge record collection, and I've always been interested in music. And I probably have, I was saying earlier in the show, about 1,000 of those old 45s, the little tiny ones, and probably about 1,000 vinyl LPs as well. And I have to say, I don't know this group, so it's interesting.
It makes me feel better because I didn't know about them either. They do, however, have a fan base. There are people you'll see in the documentary who are very excited that they are reuniting and that they have a new album. And the film's a lot of fun. It touches on some serious subjects. It touches on the discrimination that they faced as young women, as people of color. Some of the band members are lesbians, and so they were instructed by the record label to keep that quiet. That was, in the early 70s, that was not something they wanted to publicize.
No.
And now, of course, reuniting, they're all senior citizens, so now they're dealing with ageism in the music industry. So it addresses some serious subjects, but it does so in a really crowd-pleasing way. It's a lot of fun, this film.
I was looking up quite a bit of information about them, and also some of the photos. And the photos of them, like today, there's some wonderful photos of them where they are older.
Oh, yeah.
They look wonderful even today.
Yeah, and of course here on Salt Spring, I think that is it true. I believe that it's true that the Sandwich Gulf Islands has the highest median age of any constituency in Canada. So we have an older population here on Salt Spring. People are going to love this film. It's really an inspiration about aging without letting go of that youthful energy.
We should probably touch base with people who are listening about the COVID protocols for the festival.
Yeah, so we are at Art Spring, and people will be required to wear masks in the building for the duration of the screenings. Unfortunately, we won't be selling any food or drink this year. Ordinarily, we do have a concession, and food and drink is often a big part of our festival. So this year, we won't be doing any food or drink. People will be required to present photo ID and vaccine passports at the door. And we are remaining at half capacity because when we initially announced and started selling tickets, the provincial rules were still that venues had to be at half capacity. They have since changed. Was it last week?
Very recently,
they've gone up to full capacity. So we did have that option, but because we'd already publicized and started selling tickets at half capacity, we decided to remain there. So. So people will encounter those COVID protocols when they arrive, and we hope people will be prepared for that. In December, we were down at Fulford Hall, and we did it as a bit of a test run, and it went very smoothly. We had, people were very cooperative, and the whole process at the door of checking people's vaccine passports went very smoothly.
Yeah, great. Now we're going to take just a quick break and play a song by Fanny. And it fits in perfectly with my theme today because I've been playing songs from the Motown era. And this was originally done by Marvin Gaye. And here's Fanny. It's from their album called Fanny Hill, and it's their cover for Ain't That Peculiar. that was Fanny. And from their album Fanny Hill, that was their cover of Marvin Gaye's Ain't That Peculiar. And we had just talked about The Right to Rock, which is about Fanny, and that's on March 1st at 4 p.m., the opening show for the film festival. I'm talking to Steve Martindale about the festival, and I'm going to ask you now there are other films. Do you want to tell us about a few of them that are of interest? Well, I guess they're all of interest, but...
Yeah, we've got a dozen screenings, Scott, and there's, we choose the films on the basis of how good they are. We don't choose them on any sort of thematic basis. There's certain areas of interest that we know appeal to the Salt Spring audience. So, we have a number of films on Indigenous issues, where films on environmental issues always play well. We do find that films on music documentaries and films about art often play well to our audience as well. But as I say, we don't really set out to choose them thematically, but once we narrowed it down to the 13 films in our program, we had a look and realized there's actually some themes that do jump out. And one of them is, as I mentioned earlier with Fanny, is this notion of hidden histories being revealed. We have several films that do exactly that. One of them called P.S. Burn This Letter, Please. All right, so I was talking about a film called P.S. Burn This Letter, Please. We're screening it Saturday, March the 5th at 4 o'clock at Art Spring, and it's a remarkable documentary. It's about the history of drag queens in New York City in the 1950s, and the film came into existence because a cache of letters had been discovered in a storage locker. It had been stored for 60 years, and when the letters were uncovered, the people who found the letters decided to track down the people who'd written the letters. And all the letters were from drag queens in New York in the 50s. And it's an era that is not well known, even within the gay community. One of the remarkable things that jumps out on this film is that because homosexuality was illegal at the time, and you could also be arrested for masquerading as a woman, so drag queens were subject to arrest and charges. As a result of that, the gay bars and the drag bars in New York were actually run by the mafia, which a lot of people don't remember.
Fascinating.
If you've seen The Sopranos or Goodfellas, it's not mentioned. But they ran, the mafia, of course, ran prostitution and gambling because they were criminal enterprises. And they also ran the gay bars and the drag bars. So you have these mobbed up establishments that have performing drag queens. And so the people who wrote these letters were found. Those who had survived, of course, because it was a dangerous time and it was a long time ago, and then of course they had to survive the AIDS crisis. So they managed to find half a dozen of these people who had written the letters and interviewed them, and they're all in their 80s and 90s now, and and so they're interviewed and they look back on what it was like to come of age at that time in the drag scene in the 50s in New York, and it's a remarkable film. It
sounds amazing.
It's quite it's fascinating for all kinds of reasons, and it's voices that we don't often hear in the mainstream. We've got these 80 and 90-year-old gay men and some trans women speaking about what their lives were like in mid-century.
Yeah. Well, you want to mention one or two others?
Sure, we've got a really exciting one on Friday night, March 4th at 7 o'clock. The Race to Alaska is going to be very popular. There's an annual race you may have heard of from Port Townsend up to Alaska every year. It's 750 miles, and the only rule is that you can't have a motor aboard. So people take all kinds of different sailboats and craft, catamarans, you name it. Somebody even does it on a paddleboard, which is just unbelievable.
That's for sure.
It's quite a difficult course up the Inside Passage, and they can get some terrible weather and some very rough waves. And the first prize is $10,000, and the second prize is a set of steak knives. And some people manage to do it in under 4 days, which is incredible. But others spend weeks on the water, and some by themselves, some in groups. There's at least one all-women team, and so the documentary follows these various groups of people as they're racing up the coast, and it's a lot of fun. It's you have to. It's hard not to think of these people are kind of crazy. They've got to have some to accept that level of risk. It's a very dangerous thing to do, and if they get into trouble out on the water, there's not a lot of help for them. And of course, they don't have a motor with them that they could use to to get off the water. So they're really on their own, and it's a very entertaining film. If you're interested in sailing or any kind of adventure activity, any sort of extreme sport, the Race to Alaska is a good one to watch for.
Absolutely.
And speaking of extreme sports, on the Saturday night, Saturday, March 5th at 7 o'clock, we're showing Precious Leader Woman. And this film is about Spencer O'Brien, who people may have heard of. Spencer is one of the world's top snowboarders. She was on the Canadian Olympic team. She was expected to do very well at the Sochi Olympics in 2014. And she's from Alert Bay, BC, just up the coast. She's a remarkable young woman, but unfortunately she didn't do that well in the Olympics. And what came to light was that she had been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And she makes a remarkable recovery in this film. She goes back home and she reconnects with her indigenous culture, and with the support of her community, she rebuilds her body and her strength. And goes on to be very successful in the X Games, which is an annual Olympic-style competition of extreme sports. So that's Precious Leader Woman, showing Saturday at 7 o'clock, March the 5th.
These brochures with all this information that are available pretty well all over town, aren't they?
You can pick up our program guide at various locations around town. It's available at Moby's and at Salt Spring Books, at Buzzy's Luncheonette, at the Gallery 8 Art Gallery, also at Country Grocer. I should mention that our presenting sponsor is Country Grocer, so we thank them and all of our other sponsors for their support. And also the information is available online. We look forward to people turning out to see these films. I think there's a real there's a real kind of hunger for things to do. Now that the pandemic's been going on for 2 years, as you mentioned earlier, the Art Spring event has gone to full capacity and has sold out. So there's certainly a demand, like a pent-up demand for these sort of community activities. And, it's challenging for everyone to how do you put on an event like this in the midst of a pandemic and abiding by the provincial protocols. But we are really looking forward to having people come out and see these films.
Well, it's exciting to have it back again, too. I mean,
yeah, it's an annual event that people look forward to. So it was a shame that we were on hiatus last year, but we're happy to be back. And the other thing I should mention is that we normally screen about 40 films per year, and we start off with a couple of hundred films that have been scouted from other festivals and recommended to us from the public, and we preview them. We have a small group of about a dozen people who preview the films, and then we narrow it down. And normally we choose about 40 films, and then this year we thought, well, we might not have room for 40, so we probably are going to have to choose a couple of dozen. And then ultimately we just had the single venue at Art Spring with a single screen, and we realized we're only really going to have room for a dozen films, so we just had to keep cutting films out of our program. It was very difficult, but what has resulted is we've got a dozen of really top quality films.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to just remind people of some of the details again, the dates, times, where to get tickets, etc.?
Yeah, we start on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, March 1st at 4 o'clock is our first screening. We run through till the end of Sunday. So every day, Tuesday to Sunday, we're showing 2 films a day at 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. All the screenings are at Art Spring. Tickets are available at Art Spring. You can get them from the Art Spring website or from the box office at Art Spring. Art Spring box office is open from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., Tuesday to Friday, either by phone or in person, or you can purchase tickets online in advance anytime. You'll also be able to purchase tickets at the door, but of course...
that's different. Because it lasted a while at Art Spring, you had to buy them in advance.
Yeah, no, we will have tickets available at the door, but of course, because we are at half capacity, there is the possibility that the screenings will sell out.
Yes.
And in which case people may be
so
disappointed.
Don't wait.
And unlike other festivals or other years, if you can't get into this one screening, there's nothing else simultaneous that you can go to.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've been talking to Steve Martindale about the festival, and in particular the opening night, Fanny, The Right to Rock. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
Yeah, I've got one more by Fanny. Actually, this is when they were a little bit older, and they had changed their name to Fanny Walked the Earth. And the album's called Fanny Walked the Earth, and the song is called Walk the Earth, so let's have a listen to that. Thanks for being here.
Nobody said it was It's alright, it's alright. Making the rules, creating action. It's alright, alright. Oh, maybe it's down to you. Walk, walk the earth. Oh, we were just walking through. Walk the earth. Walking streets of life, knowing just how to rock our scene. In the midnight hour, till the dawn, nothing in between. Breaking the rules, what satisfaction is alright. It's alright. It's alright. Making the rules, we were the action. It's alright. Alright. Oh, maybe it's down to you. Walk, walk the earth. Oh, we were just passing through. Walk the Ooh, we didn't even have no map to follow. Carved our notch and we knocked on wood. One foot in front of the other, little feet on this great big world. Bending the rules cause a chain reaction. It's alright, alright, well alright, alright. Grooving on a sunny afternoon, and we grooved all night. Oh, maybe it's down to you. Walk, walk the earth. Oh, we are the living room. Walk, walk the earth. We were just walking through. Walk, walk. We were just passing through. Walk, walk. Maybe it's down to you. Walk, walk the earth. Walk, walk the earth.
Keep on walking,
Walk, walk the earth.
keep on walking.
Walk, walk the earth. Walk, walk the earth.
Walk on by.
Walk, walk the earth.
Keep on walking.
Walk, walk the earth.
Walk on by.
Walk, walk the earth.
Walk on.
Walk, walk the earth.
Keep on walking.
Walk, walk the earth.
Keep on walking.
That was Fanny Walked the Earth, also Fanny, and the album's called Fanny Walked the Earth, and the song was called Walk the Earth.